Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. My name's Dualta and Ryan, and in this podcast series, I will be interviewing investors, advisors, entrepreneurs, and recruiters who are based all over the world, and we will be discussing how to set up, scale, and operate a world-class recruitment company. Today, I'm speaking to Ryan Walker. He's a supply chain and logistics recruitment business owner in the UK. He's been running his own business for a few years now, and he's mad into figuring out little ways that will help improve his business. So we had a great chat about marketing, branding, technology, the future of recruitment, and the challenges of running your own recruitment business. And I really enjoyed speaking to him because we're probably in business a similar amount of time. I think maybe I'm in a bit longer, but not much. So we're facing similar challenges in our business, and we've probably found a few similar solutions as well. So hopefully, if you're thinking of setting up your own recruitment business and you're not trying to be the next Hayes or Robert Walters, and you just want to have a good boutique small recruitment agency that earns you good money, then this episode will be of benefit to you. And a lot of the lessons learned that Ryan has taken have come from David Stephen Patterson, who's been a previous guest on the podcast. And we both took a lot of benefit from his Facebook group on, I think it's the HERC Facebook group, he calls it. It's Executive Headhunters Recruitment Group on Facebook. Okay, so have a listen. Let us know what you think. And if you want to come on the podcast, I'm mad to get some guests on at the moment and try and fill up the diary full of amazing people from our industry for the new year. Good afternoon, Ryan. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Good man.
Fantastic.
All right. I wonder, this episode transcribed between my Donegal accent and your Edinburgh.
Glasgow accent, that one. But I was actually thinking that before. Can I probably be in the background and actually can I go like, this is just a noise. It's just a noise. I can't hear anything.
So Ryan, welcome. Really happy to get you on board, and I'm specifically happy to get you on board because I've had a few conversations with people who are in similar situation to yourself, where they're running a good recruitment business that isn't a big massive business. They feel that because I've had a lot of people who have already exited businesses and the Greg Savages of this world on the podcast, that they felt that they weren't comfortable to come on and share their experiences because of that. And I really wanted to knock that on the head because I'm more interested in speaking to someone like yourself who is in the thick of it, trying to figure out what to do next. And I think that's more beneficial to anybody who's thinking of setting up their own recruitment business and doesn't have 50 people doing the work for them.
Exactly. And it's always good to actually see that someone else is going through the same problems that they're experiencing or they will experience in the future, so they can get heads up. So I completely understand where you're coming from there. So
Ryan, talk to me. You had a life before recruitment. What was that?
I did. I've had many lives before recruitment. Originally, my background really, I came down from Scotland, to be fair, when I was 19. Actually, not tell a lie, it was when I was 15, down to Essex, just in London, outside the kind of Only Way is Essex territory, that crap program that everyone watches. Yeah. It was all like Chigwell and all that sort of stuff, just due to my dad's work. Came to college here, was going to be aspiring web designer, decided that web design was completely not my thing, and decided to join the RAF instead. So I decided to join the forces, and that's where I kind of jumped into my logistics knowledge. I started, that's where my logistics background really started, to be honest.
So were you in the field, or were you in the logistics side of the field? What
It
was
was
what was your role in there?
it was ground crew basically. So it's literally it was we were called suppliers. So we were basically the guys who kitted everyone out. So we were the ones who were like supplying everyone. It could be anything from on nuts and bolts for aircraft or doors, engines, anything under the sun we could get. We had to go and buy it. But the good thing about that job was so diverse because logistics is a huge, huge entity. It's a huge industry. So instead, we were going into different side of things like warehousing, then we're into distribution, then transport, and then we're into purchasing. You go all round the different aspects of it. So it was a good stepping stone to get a good idea of the industry itself, which really kind of helped me out in the future.
And it's not like working for Amazon, where if somebody just misses their box, if you mess up, somebody doesn't have their shoes.
Yeah, to be fair, right, there's one story. I actually messed up massively. It was 3 o'clock in the 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on a night shift, and I was supposed to go and pick up this. I think it was an aircraft spare, which was down by across. I think it was the other side of camp. But to do that, I had to open up about 6 or 7 gates and get there. And at that point in time, I was like, I'll wait for the morning shift to do it. Little did I know that in the morning, the aircraft was supposed to fly at 9 o'clock that morning and get fixed. And because I didn't get that spare for them, the aircraft didn't fly. So I stopped a whole sortie, if you want, because I couldn't be bothered getting it.
And what type of interesting locations did you live in?
Locations. To be fair, on my old forces career, I was down at Lynham for my whole time there. I was RAF Lynham, so that's where I was stationed. I was in charge of the Hercules, the big cargo aircraft. But I'd say going all around the shop, around the world, and all that sort of stuff. Falklands, you know what I mean, Middle East, and all that sort of thing.
Fantastic. And when you were in the forces for what was it, 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
What you got to a point where did you just want civilian life again?
It was during the so it was literally I left on the most rubbish time you could actually imagine during the recession of 2009. So I was like, I didn't want to do it. There was a lot of cutbacks. It wasn't the same. I always said to myself, I didn't want to stay in the forces for too long and get accustomed to it, because the longer you stay in, the harder it is to be accustomed to normal life, city street sort of thing. So I didn't want to do it too long anyway. But when I came out, that's when it was like no jobs are about. There was nothing there. It was like kind of temporary contract roles. I was doing consultancy work, doing working in a warehouse management, then doing supply chain management and shipping and all that. Nothing really set in stone.
Did you find that your skills weren't being respected as much as you thought they would have been?
No, because that's the thing. When someone's in the forces, it's not a bad thing. When you're in the forces, they big you up and they think you to build your confidence level, and that's why the reason we are as good as we are in the forces, because we have that belief. But the thing is my main issue was they weren't preparing us properly to come out. So even you still think you're amazing, you're fantastic, but you're going to jump into like a 30 grand a year job, which is not actually realistic. You have to start from the bottom again. So that's where I really got to grips with it and had a little bit of issues with, to be honest.
It's a bit like going from a major recruitment firm to a boutique.
Yeah, basically. That's a good way of putting it, actually. Yeah. You know, where's the bell you can ring when you do a deal, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I thought I was a superhero when I was leaving Robert Walters, just to get punched in the face.
Yeah, welcome to the real world.
Yeah,
Some of that.
Yeah. You do not have a multi-million-dollar brand behind you anymore.
That's it. Yeah, so you have to make your own, get yourself out there, flyers, do your own laminating and all that sort of stuff. All great fun.
So you were figuring yourself out. How did you manage to get into recruitment from this point?
Well, what it was at that point in time when I left, I got the RAF. But a year later, after I left the RAF, I got a phone call from one of my sergeants I used to be in, and he had a job opportunity out in the Middle East. It was out in Afghanistan to work out there for 2 years, and that was in logistics itself. So I said, yeah, of course, because it's a hell of a lot of money. And I was only like 26 at the time. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So I jumped out and went and done it. So I worked out in Kabul there for 2 years. Did all the business, saved up a lot of money and all that sort of stuff. But then came back when the contract finished. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I came back to the UK. I was like, what do I do? Do I go back in logistics? I was falling out of love with the industry a little bit. I wanted to try something different. And that's a true story. My mate actually turned around to me and said, well, Ryan, you're good at talking to people. You're out there. I think his exact words, you like to bullshit people sort of thing. I think you'd fit well into recruitment or a sales job. So I was like, that's a good idea, actually. Why not? So I applied for a few firms, and that's where I got my first job in Felixstowe for a company called DriveLink. And it was a temporary driver recruitment company. I went in there as a consultant because they wanted somebody with a little bit of logistics background as well.
Right. How did you find it?
It was hard work. It was, don't get me wrong, it was hard work. It was strange to get used to the different things and having to do and be a bit more out there and basically take me out of my comfort zone and chuck me in the deep end and then just run with it and just do what you need to do. But I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning calls you always get with temp workers, with drivers and stuff. But it's part and parcel of the industry, unfortunately.
So you did that for a little bit, and then you went into another driving recruitment agency for a little bit after that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I did well with the driving temp recruitment was great. Got headhunted by another company, Swan Staff. They picked me up. They're a big company, a big massive company. There was a completely different. The way they operated, I couldn't get along with, to be honest. Just the way they were doing it by old school cold calling, constantly calls every day. And I was just like, I can't be doing with this. And then there was something missing. I knew there was something out there that could be done differently. I thought there was like, this can't be the ends and ends all of how recruitment should be done. There must be something out there.
And what did you do to kind of look, with all due respect, like the industry and the training that you probably got in those 2 firms, it wouldn't have led me to thinking I could set up my own recruitment business. What gave you that there confidence that you had the right information and that you could go from doing temp driving to setting up a recruitment business like you did?
It was a big step. Don't get me wrong. Somebody basically said to me, "Why don't I do it and do that sort of thing?" And the confidence got behind me. It was the feedback that I was getting from other clients at the time. They were saying, "Yeah, that'd be fantastic. You've got the way of doing it." So at that point in time, I had the kind of databases behind me. I had the drivers behind me. I had a lot of backing behind me. That said that they'd work with me if I did that. So I was like, okay, seems a good way of doing it. But I like to take risks. That's why I'm a very risky person. I don't think about things too much. I just jump in 2 foot forward and just go for it.
And was it a temp business? Was it a perm business? Did you do exactly what you were doing before? And what was that like? This is what we were talking about before, saying that you're coming from a big company into your own boutique and your own business. You think you're invincible, and that I can relate to that massive when I started, because that was like a big kick in the teeth, to be quite honest with you. It was visions of grandeur, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be this, that, and the other. I'm going to earn this much money in the first year. I'm going to go back to my old bosses and stick 2 fingers up at them and say, have some of that," you know. That could not be further from the truth. You know, that could not be further from the truth. You didn't realise how much hard work had to get put into it. I had at this point in time, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but at that point in time, I didn't have the time to actually put it into place. So I had to resort to the old school way of doing it, of hitting the phones and doing it, because that is the only way to really start off a business, to be quite honest with you. And I've struggled to find anyone who can prove me wrong on that. Well, what was your vision at the start?
The vision was what I wanted to do was where I want to be in the business that I want my business to run as. I want to be the go-to guy. I want to be the go-to guy in the industry. So say like somebody wants some like XYZ role, I want them to go, let's phone Ryan up, let's give him a call. So I want obviously the brand out there, get myself a bit of an influencer in the marketplace, and become more inbound clients instead of outbound.
Okay, so that was the goal at the start.
Yeah.
Now to do that as a one-man band means that you probably have to pick a very select niche of what you're after, and know, like, was there a point where did you have the skills at the time to go, okay, there's 2,000 people in my marketplace, there's 5,000 people, there's buying, how do I engage with them? And did you create a strategy to do that, or were you kind of naive at the start and thinking that that would be easier than it was?
Yeah, I mean, I was probably the main part of it when I started, but I was all kind of test and error, trial and error, sorry,
Yeah.
to go through different things, because some things could work one week and then they would work the next week, and then so it was a bit of trial and error. But what I started to do was do campaigns and do different strategies all at the same time. The way I look at it is having a chair. You've got 4 legs on a chair. To take one leg away from it, it's going to be a bit shaky. If you get 3 legs away from it, it's going to fall over. So you can't just rely on one strategy. You have to have a lot working at the same time. So I was obviously concentrating on LinkedIn campaigns, putting out content out there on LinkedIn, boosting up my connections, using that as a massive strategy sort of thing. Then obviously you go back to your branding campaign with your emails and your revamping your email lists and sending out some good content on that. Then I was obviously looking at something like webinars and podcasts and all that sort of stuff to get the influence back in. So there's a lot of things juggling about to kind of keep going and have a little bit of more strategies. So sometimes LinkedIn would work, sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes emails would work, sometimes it wouldn't. It's all really trial and error.
Were you using any outside consultancies to kind of give you guidance on that?
I did use some other consultancies to give us a help out, because you get only so far. My knowledge is only so limited. So I was like, I had to really kind of invest in something to have somebody kind of push me in the right direction, sort of thing. It was you knew it was there.
Yeah.
You just didn't know how to get there. You can see it, but you don't know how to jump over the river, sort of thing. So that was that extra push.
I think we may have had a conversation on one of the Facebook groups on
we did actually,
on who you used. I'll not go into it. I'll not go into it. But
yeah, we did end up.
Let's go into the Facebook group thing. You're in the Herc group, David Stephen Patterson's group.
Yeah.
He's quite impressive, isn't he?
He's very impressive. I tell you what, he's very impressive. And he's another person as well. I was talking to you beforehand about Greg Savage and how I could just listen to Greg all day. He's another one, David. He's got such a command about him and such a kind of calming voice sort of thing. I could just sit and listen to him all day, and he comes out with some great content, and it's absolutely fantastic.
So I suppose they're both quite the thing I probably I like what Greg says and his mission and all of that, but the difference is that David's into the execution of it. So he's actually into the execution of the technology and how to go about it. And I've earmarked a lot of time to go back and look at the stuff that he publishes. And if anybody's listening to this, you want to look up David Stephen Patterson and join his Facebook group online. He gives away all the strategies. And
he does, yeah.
If you want to go into his paid program, that's available too. But there's enough in there for you to do it yourself as well. And yeah, he goes into so much detail that it almost gives me a headache. So I've my wife coming back into the business in the new year, and I have a folder of David Stephen Patterson projects for her to do, because he seems to really get it. Well, you're in the Recruiter online group as well.
Yes.
Were you able to take anything from either of those groups and implement it into your business?
I have done, actually, yeah. I mean, the good thing about obviously David's one is the technology side of things. Because there's loads of different ways of doing it. I'm a massive fan of new technology sort of thing into making recruitment business easier, and how it's actually helping us step away from obviously the rubbish jobs that nobody wants to do, and then doing the most important ones, which is signing deals and writing checks. So so the new technology, but what David's actually done, which is really good, he's basically looked at it for us, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. He's basically got all these little technology that can do this, this, and this, and he's brought it together and said, right, if you put them all together, this is what the outcome can be. And and then you're like, oh my God, it's like a brainwave. You don't realize, you're like, but it's like a little light bulb off the top of your head. You're like, hallelujah, sort of thing. So I thought that was great, the way he does that. And obviously with the Recruiter online, I just think that's just a cracking group, because you get so much great stuff on there about anything. I mean, somebody was writing up about what was it the other day there about interviews, tips, and all that sort of stuff, and how not to do this and how not to do that, and the recruitment animal show as well, which is absolutely hilarious. I'm not really. I've tempted to actually sign up to that, but I don't think I've got the ball for it yet.
I got annihilated on it.
I tell you, I listened to him. I was like, he was commenting saying who wants to do the last one of the year, and I was like, I'm gonna have a listen to this, and I just went, 10 minutes into it, I was like, I'd get destroyed.
He just insulted me for half an hour. It was horrific. But I had a few takeaways from it now. And I suppose just jumping into the stuff that David is coaching people. The first thing he would say is to pick your niche, and then it's about having a process of LinkedIn, retargeting them on Facebook, getting their email addresses and retargeting them, creating value through constant content, and driving them to the point where you can get their buy-in, and using a few tools along the way. So he's really big into that, and he's probably one of the first recruiters to really get Facebook marketing, and it's quite impressive what he's been able to do. And as I speak to you, I'm looking at my own plan here and what we do and the technologies we're using. And the bit I can't figure out is, do we get a website and drive people to a website, or do we focus more on our LinkedIn business page, on our Facebook business page, and drive people to that? Because both platforms seem to punish you if you try and move away from them.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the main thing I've got as well. I mean, when I first started about 2 years ago, I was using my website as a hub. So I had all my information, all my blog posts, everything on there. And when I was actually like distributing the content to that, to like LinkedIn, Facebook, I was linking the links to go to my website sort of thing. But obviously things have changed now 2 years later. They don't like you doing that, do they? Especially LinkedIn, they've clamped down massively on it to say, well, we don't want you to leave our site, so we're not going to distribute this to other people. So it's annoying that.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with it. I'm I've kind of got my marketing budget for next year, and that's a bit I can't get past right now.
Yeah,
it is the execution of that, and I have to put a bit of time aside to really jump into it.
It seems that the way I'm really doing it is looking for obviously my candidate side of stuff. This is how I've done it. I'm now really, David's actually opened my eyes that that's not the case. I used to use like Facebook and like kind of Instagram and that sort of stuff just for candidates and stuff like that, but use LinkedIn primarily for clients. But now that's obviously, after watching David's training and doing a little bit of research myself, it's not really the case nowadays, because you can actually reach out to clients just as much as you can on Facebook that you can on LinkedIn sort of thing. Just because they're not in a business aspect of it doesn't mean they don't look at Facebook, you know?
Yeah, and getting that mindset. But he also has a point where he says he doesn't do outreach on Facebook. He does retargeting.
Yeah.
So I think that's the it's kind of like, okay, they see you again on Facebook. So then when you do approach them on LinkedIn in the right manner, then they're like, oh, okay, they've got that confirmation bias of who you are and all the rest. And that job's done. Anyway,
exactly.
Before our heads explode, talk to me about branding, because it's on your mind right now.
It is. I'm going through a massive kind of stuff. Well, I've started off doing a lot of research on branding, mostly throughout this year, and I've just recently, the past month, just implemented it all. And that's going through different ways of doing it, by doing different things like something like podcasts like yourself, distributing content constantly through LinkedIn, Facebook, even Instagram. I'm starting to get into Instagram now. Get a little bit of addicted to it, to be honest, which is really, really good.
Oh, that's good.
It's good fun. It's good fun, actually. And then doing different bits and pieces like that, making YouTube channels, making a YouTube video series, which I'm distributing on YouTube and Facebook and all the different platforms as well.
So when you're talking about branding, you're really talking about marketing?
Well, branding is marketing nowadays. So branding is marketing. So that really kind of both like part and parcel
branding.
thing.
So branding sits within marketing.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're about, and then everything else is all the add-ons. What was your ultimate objective? Like, where's your brand at? Where do you feel it's at right now? And what are you trying to become?
Well, the branding there, we're actually right at the marketing side of things. We're actually kind of at the start of what we're trying to do. We're getting a lot of traction so far, but the most difficult part of it is being consistent about it and not stop and start. The way I see it is like, it's like a wheel. You spin the wheel for a bit and then you leave it, but then it starts to slow down. And the longer you leave it, the slower it gets and the harder it is to keep up again. So you have to keep at it. That's my main kind of issue at the minute, trying to get that sorted. But God, sorry.
No. It's taken me a long time to kind of get that wheel going and that system in place. I think that's just marking out like what you're doing each day. And I would have my assistants doing it, my virtual assistants.
Yeah. Do what's getting all that sorted. I mean, the thing is as well, and it's also with the brand, it's finding out where the attention is and finding out whereabouts the actual people you want to contact are. That's the main thing. It's no point in actually hitting somewhere that's not there's not actually going to get anything from you. So it's all about a lot of trial and error. You can spend thousands of pounds on these consultancy companies telling you what to do, but you can quite easily do it yourself, I think. But it's just going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah. So like the way I like to think about it is, you get a LinkedIn account, you're allowed 30,000 connections. Within that, you want to have as many first connections that are relevant as possible.
Of course.
So you kind of want to work out who you could ever do business with, and then connect through, before you're doing business with them, connect through everybody. Make sure that you have such a bulk of connections there. From that, then you want to be using that as your mailing list as well. You used to be able to download it. Now now there's a few tools out there you can use, but it's not as easy as it was. And then it's about having a strategy that creates enough content and you're in their news feed enough times so that they're familiar with you. So whenever you hit them with a message or a messaging sequence, that then eventually they're like, I know you, I'm aware of you. The next bit is I trust you. And then you get your conversation and you're almost home and dry.
That's exactly what we do as well. Exactly what we do as well. It does work. That sort of stuff does work.
From what that means for me on a daily basis is, if let's say if I can get a podcast or 3 out a week, depending on how many people we've lined up and all the rest, then that there's a bit of content that goes out there. And I'll try and create a viral thread or two in at the start of each day, and then they'll get going and they'll have 10 to 50,000 views. So that there means that you're in the news feed. And then I'll Hootsuite. I'll have all the ads for jobs that we have. I'll have them Hootsuited throughout the day. And then I'll reinforce that with my business partner and wife's LinkedIn account. My virtual assistants are now full on Rector X. So we've trained them up into that, and they'll reinforce it with their LinkedIn as well. So and then our obviously our LinkedIn business page as well. So there's a tremendous amount of re-hitting of newsfeed that's coming in, that people are seeing in your thing. So it's kind of like advertise, add a bit of value, add a bit of controversy, and systematically have that done throughout the week, and that's kind of where we're at with it.
I mean, what we've been doing, we've literally been doing something similar as well. But what we've actually been doing is cutting down. It takes a little bit longer, but what we've done with obviously the YouTube videos and obviously some kind of podcasts and stuff that we would do, we use that as a macro sort of kind of our hub sort of thing. So then we go to different aspects like LinkedIn, and not much as LinkedIn, but Facebook and Instagram. We can mash that up to specific points of interest in that episode sort of thing, make it into like 10 to 15 seconds long, and then put the link at the bottom to go straight to the YouTube channel if you want to learn more. And that's been really beneficial for us on Instagram and Facebook because it sparks their interest, because they're like, oh, I like that little snippet, I want to learn more about this. Obviously, a VA has been instrumental in doing that for us, because no way in hell I'll be able to do that myself, sort of thing. But VAs are really good at that sort of thing.
So that's my next project, is to work out how we can do that better next year.
Yeah,
I feel it's well. The
thing is, the biggest thing about people understanding is this saying about content. I'm not getting enough content, sort of thing. You don't need massive amounts of content. If you've got stuff that people are engaging with, great. Don't just put up stuff for the sake of putting up stuff. Put stuff that everyone's going to engage with, and then split it down into little micro bits and put little snippets of it out there to get people's engagement, and then that will use that as to go to your main video, blog, podcast, whatever it is. And you can use that. You can use sound files for podcasts. You can use sound files for even YouTube channels, sort of thing, and then use that. That could, one, say an hour long video or half an hour long podcast could actually be split down into about 30 bits of content that you can distribute, and using Hootsuite and Buffer, you can distribute that out in the background automatically, and works fine. It does the job.
So what you like, the bit that I'm struggling with out of that is the cutting down of that. Have you got a virtual assistant who cuts that and curates that for you?
Yes. Well, basically, what I used to do it myself to start with.
That would kill me.
I did it to start with. I said it to start with. I did. Because the only reason why I did it was I did it straight off the bat. As soon as I made the video, I knew exactly where, because I just did the video. I know exactly where I wanted to keep and what I didn't want to keep and what I could do. So it was really easy for me. So I just got myself some simple software. Kind of cost about I think it was about 70 quid or something like that.
What did you use?
Oh God, I can't remember what it's called now. Camtasia. That was the one. Camtasia. Very easy to use. You can timeline there. You can chop and mash it up and all that sort of stuff. Put great graphics on it. Really simple. Another one to use is obviously the Adobe Photoshop one. That's really good. Photoshop Pro, I think it's called. But that's a little bit more expensive. But yeah, so I started doing that, and it took me literally the whole weekend just to make 1 week's worth of stuff. And I was like, I can't do that. I said it killed me. So I went on and got myself a good VA sort of thing that can help me out in that, and I found them on Fiverr.
What did you go for? Where was the person from? Because I've done an episode on VAs before. It's not as easy as people think.
It's not as easy as thing. I went through a trial and error. I did go through one who was.
Bet you did.
You went through the first one. Actually, went through two of them. Third time lucky.
The
first one was didn't really.
Some of that their fault, some of that your fault. You kind of learn your lesson. Yeah.
The thing is, what I had to do. The thing is with VAs, you have to be really kind of open and just have to kind of write it down and blatant. Like, you must do this, then you must do this. Really, I don't want to say it's like they're an idiot sort of thing, but you have to be really kind of open with them. And I had to write out the transcript and say to them at 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 20, cut, paste, all that sort of stuff. So that took a bit of time. I think the third one we're doing so far, we've had them for about a month now. And she's from the Philippines, bless her, a little girl called Maki, absolutely fantastic.
Oh, good on you.
She's doing all right. So fingers crossed that nothing bad goes wrong.
So she had no experience in editing beforehand, did she?
She did. That was basically what we kind of went towards, because she was basically an editor, and she does like kind of web design and web pages and all that sort of stuff as well. So that was like, oh, that sounds good. So if we need to be, we can actually, she can go on a website and start a website at the same time as well. We can pay her to do that.
She looking for any extra hours?
I'll put your details in touch with her. Yeah, no problem.
Good stuff. Because that's a big hole I see. So because this is an audio podcast, I suppose I'm not getting all the video stuff that you get. So that YouTube, Instagram thing isn't really working for me on that.
You still can't put that out there. Just jump in. You can use different snippets, because you can get something called sound waves. I don't know if you've seen them. Free platform. You can upload your details to it, and it makes a little kind of funky sound wave in front of it. So there's something visual there to look at while the audio is playing as well.
That was part of my research for today. Yeah. That's we'll jump into it before we privately before we bore people too much on the on the nitty gritty. One of the things that you mentioned, so obviously from a branding perspective, the aim for you is to become an authority within your space. So whenever somebody's thinking about changing a job in your space, they're going to go, well, you know, Ryan came from the industry. He's been doing this. He's, you know, he's helped us with all this information, all the rest. We're aware of him. Well, sure, we'll use him. Oh, well, we pay him up front. That's where you're at, right?
Yeah, that's where that's the next part.
That's the next part. So
the journey that we call recruitment.
Sure. So you're fully retained. Your contingency right now.
Yeah.
And you're looking to get to a position where quite a bit of your business is retained. What are the biggest challenges from getting from one to the other?
It's basically getting from one to the other is people trying to pay you up front. I think that's one of the main issues, really, to be fair, because you can imagine from a retained business, there has to be a massive amount of trust there, and there has to be a massive amount of we know exactly what you're doing. So it takes a long time to get that into with your clients and kind of helping them out on a contingency basis for them to actually sign off on the kind of the pay up front sort of side of stuff. They kind of do that. That's the main part of it. That's the struggle we're getting at the minute. But the thing is well, what sort of when do you pull the trigger? I think that's the problem. You work with a client for like 2 years on a contingency basis. When do you pull the trigger to say, right, we're now going to put you on this sort of thing? You have to pay us up front now, and they're going to go, well, no, I don't like that. So you really it's when and where to do it. That's the problem we're getting at the minute.
And what's the main pushback from the client?
One is, well, it's just I think it's mostly the pay up front, as you can imagine. With logistics and side of things, it's the industry that I'm in is obviously logistics and supply chain. I mean, supply chain, yeah, but the more logistics side of things, they don't like change as much as the other different industries.
It's not a pure white collar industry either.
Nah, exactly. So you've obviously got your like kind of IT and your law firms and all that. They're quite up to like kind of speed with our new technologies and new sort of side of techniques and stuff. The other way of doing it is the logistics side don't really like that. So you really have to explain it to them. But the thing is, if you've got a good relationship with your clients, they can actually kind of listen to you, and then you're on a good step. So it's lots of the upfront. But the thing is, it's when you go into like a retained assignment, they're giving you money up front, but you have to. Their main problem is what happens if you don't help us out? What happens if you don't fill this position? What happens there? So then you have to really kind of negotiate with them. Well, do you get a percentage back of it, or do you get the whole thing back, or what's the time frame? And then it just goes down a rabbit hole sort of thing.
Yeah, I get offered to take on retained assignments all the time.
Check you out.
And I never do.
Do you never do it? No.
No. Because I feel I'm in such a candidate-driven industry that my main, and sorry to any clients that are listening to this, but my main loyalty is to making sure that recruiter gets to the right place. And like we try and work with only the best people. So, but that doesn't mean that everybody's suitable to that recruiter. And our objective every year is to have no fallouts. And mostly we achieve that. So it's too hard. It's very hard to deliver in recruitment in rec to rec, because a lot of employers aren't able to differentiate what the job is.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest struggle we have, because, you know, even the best recruiters within a niche, there's not much between what the job is or what the offering is between five of the top firms. It's down to the personality fit. And if you're doing retained, you could put that person in touch with somebody and hope it works out, but they're probably going to use another rec direct to go and speak to the other four.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
actually, yeah, so they get that,
and then you've kind of missed out. And I think I really think it's because a lot of the stuff is quite uniform. Like a 360 recruiter is a 360 recruiter, regardless of the firm. Of course. Yeah. Where some other jobs are slightly different, aren't they?
Of course, yeah, without doubt, yeah.
But maybe this is the retained versus contingent. Maybe I'll bring somebody on who's a retained guy and get him to teach us how it's done. Or
How
maybe
to
I
do
could
it properly. That's
bring
it,
on
exactly.
bring on the Lord David Stephen Patterson to
Yeah, man. But the thing is when we're retaining side of things as well, it's also obviously we were talking about your brand and market, and that's a big part of it as well. Obviously, in what you put out there, even if you don't even use to go into like, I mean, the holy grail is to go into someone you've never actually kind of approached. Well, you approach them first, who are not signed on as a client, and then go straight in for a retained assignment straight away. But that can only be done with obviously marketing and branding prospects in the background and putting decent content out there that's actually going to pick like kind of tug some heartstrings sort of thing that people are going to relate to. So a lot of people don't do that.
I think also data is the way to do it. Like, like if you can prove your network, prove what's coming in the door, prove that you've done it before, and you can show examples of that, and then they can reference that, then
referrals and all that sort of stuff, and good recommendations and things. Yeah.
Right. That leaves me on to the latter part of this interview, and that's the future of the industry. You mentioned you spoke, or you listened to the Greg Savage interview I did, and he talked quite a lot of big picture stuff.
I did. I think one of the main things that really got me interested in is when he talked about the future going down a consultancy route. We're going to go down that way, which really kind of got me thinking, to be quite honest with you. And I completely agree with it, to be fair.
What explain that for anybody who hasn't listened to it.
Well, I just think the way the industry, the actual recruitment industry is going, is it's going to be consultancy. You're going to be paid to be like, can I go into a firm and you do the recruitment sort of thing as a paid standalone consultant, not to be like one of these, possibly part of a big firm, but at a different aspect. You're not going to be working on like 10 or 12, 15 jobs at one time. You're going to be sitting there looking at probably a little bespoke number of maybe even send like 7 to 10 sort of thing, and then go from there and being a bit more kind of niche driven, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, potentially, but like, I mean, what the fuck does he know? Like, nobody knows what's coming. Nobody knows what's coming tomorrow. I don't care if he's a billionaire.
Nah, of course.
You know?
Nah, of course not. But it seems I do think it's going to go something. I don't think it's going down as massive as much as that, but it's going to go down that way somewhere. We don't know. But it looks as if it's going to go down that.
I think when we look at what the job is, like one of the things, I have a VA in the Philippines, and I found a piece of software last week that replaced her, and I went, "Oh my god, it's here already." And I spoke to my other VAs, and I was like, "Look, this is why you need to progress your skill set, because every year software is going to get better and better and better." So I don't think we're going to get replaced.
No, I don't think we get replaced at all now.
But I think all the administration is going to get replaced.
Yeah,
so
the background, the admin stuff, and all the background kind of, I want to say donkey work. So I think it's going to get replaced definitely.
And when
it's near enough replaced now, to be quite honest. It's near enough done now.
It nearly is, sort of. I mean, there's little things like. You could replace it with a virtual assistant, a lot of it, and I have. But it takes a long time to get somebody who's as good as a recruiter. And you have to kind of go through that. I don't feel like it's all replaceable through the software, or at least all those software pieces would speak together in the right way. That would create influence and do that. I could probably see it as the one person's able to create a brand, they're able to become an expert and an authority in a niche, and they're able to advise and headhunt candidates to go from one place to the next. I think it's going to become even more candidate driven. I think that the lower levels of recruitment will all go. So
I definitely think so. I think that's the start of that. As I said before, the start of it. I can agree with that, with the resources and the candidate finder and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, but I think even the lower levels of jobs out there, you won't be able to get a fee for an administration assistant. That'll all be done. Maybe there might be no. I think it'll all be done. Like anybody who'd be worth a fee will be worth headhunting directly.
Yeah.
And it'll be a lot around that. But there's loads of stuff out there that's coming out, like all these candidate bots and stuff, which
Yeah, you've seen that.
which are going to like screen out recruiters as well. So it's
That's good fun.
the marketing side's super important right now. And I forget her surname, Louise from the UK Recruiter was on.
Oh yeah.
And she was saying that like we would get like the next 10 years could be quite spectacular. And I think Greg Savage said the same thing, in that all the tools and all the access to people is all there for the individual right now, but in the future it may not be, like, and maybe technology might replace a large part of it, but this is probably the best time to be an independent recruiter.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is when it comes, I think we're still in the infancy of a lot of stuff. As you said, 10 years time, it could be completely different. But I think when people say, "Oh, this time next year," I remember the conversations that were getting bashed about a couple of years ago, saying that recruitment is going to be defunct in the next 5 years. And I was like, well, they've been saying that for the past 10 years, and we're still nowhere near it. So you really have to take stuff like that with a pinch of salt.
Why do you think Americans are better at running independent recruitment firms and UK are better at scaling recruitment firms?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Running independent ones, I think they're a bit more scaling it to make it better. We are better at doing that. I would probably say
I'd say so too. Yeah.
I think. Do you know why we're better at doing it? I think it's just because we can do it. Simple as that. We've got the ability to do it, and we see it in the kind of long term. We look forward and look at it in the longer term sort of thing. I mean, fair enough, the Americans have got great customer service, and they've got a great idea of what's going on sort of thing, but sometimes they're kind of, I mean, I look at some of the posts on Facebook and some of the posts on LinkedIn, you're like, you know this, you've been in this job 20 years, and they post something up about something you should really know straight away about different platforms, and you're like, you should know this already, why you not researched a bit more into it? So they're kind of stuck in their ways, I think. But
yeah, and maybe they're more likely to go and just take a shot at setting up their own recruitment business without doing a proper apprenticeship.
Apprenticeships, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, where the UK recruiter probably thinks more in lines of, how can I set something up that's going to last, where I can get people working for me, and I see a massive cultural difference between the two.
I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't like to have like a massive, like, loads and loads of people working for me. I'd like to keep small, to be quite honest with you. Depends if obviously an investor wants to fund £5 million into me. If you're listening out there, I'll have a chat with you. But at the moment, it's all about it's all about having that kind of bespoke service. I mean, similar to yourself, you have like that sort of like kind of service, because the bigger you get, sometimes the service drops, which is something I don't want. I want to build the brand and build the name onto that sort of specific kind of about a reputation on that. But you never know what's going to happen in the future.
No, you don't. Okay, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No, I appreciate it.
And wish you the best with your business. It sounds like you're doing everything you can to get the right knowledge. And I'm going to pick your brain on that little bit about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at a later time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, another good point actually. Seeing the other day that LinkedIn, as they do, they're always behind each other, behind every social network. They're now doing LinkedIn stories. They're now going to push that out in the next couple of weeks, similar to what Facebook and Instagram do. So that'll be quite interesting to find out how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I've seen that. That would be interesting. You'd want to be getting it in on that for sure.
Definitely. So yeah, so you might not even need to use Facebook or Instagram anytime soon.
All right, pal. Catch you later.
No problem, Stuart. Take care.
Massive thank you to Ryan for coming on the podcast. Really great to get to speak to somebody who's right in the thick of it with their business. So from figuring out what their strategy is, how they can move from contingency to retained. And yeah, it's for me, being in business for 4 years, it's really great to get to speak to somebody who's kind of at the same stage, and a bit of confirmation that some of the stuff we're doing is along the same lines, which is really cool. But Yeah, I think I like what he's up to, that he's trying to create content to engage. He's trying to use automation to take away the hard work. He's trying to use assistants to do stuff that he shouldn't be doing and he should be focusing on as candidates and clients. And it all seems to be working for him. And I also like that he's not trying to be the next Robert Walters or Michael Page. He just wants to create a great recruitment business and enjoy it. And more power to him. So massive thank you to him for coming on the podcast. And you'll see that we give David Stephen Patterson a bit of credit throughout it. I do encourage you to join his Facebook group. A lot of stuff that we talk about on this podcast, especially if you're an independent recruiter, you could gain a lot from listening to David. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back with some more guests later on in the week. Take care.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.